In this video, I want to focus on Vivek and Elon, the leaders of Department of Government Efficiency, also known as Doge, and how over the past few days they have been steadily exposing themselves when it comes to legal immigration, in other words, scamming to get into this country through H-1B. Now, you had Vivek who decided to use references to Hollywood as a way to label American culture and specifically American workers as dumb and lazy. And then you had Elon Musk, who just less than a year ago agreed with the mainstream media that Trump was Hitler. I mean, he's literally been less than a year a Trump supporter. But when you're the richest man in the world, of course, you can get yourself in good. But anyway, on top of Vivek, some may say he's been even more hysterical over this matter because apparently his companies love to utilize foreign born workers, particularly from India, to fill his companies with, as far as with employment. Because as you've probably experienced yourself, over the past few decades, more and more jobs, if they're not getting shipped overseas for cheap and slave labor, then the jobs that are here are, in a way, getting shipped overseas, but by way of bringing foreign workers into this country. And you would like to think that every American would be on board with America First, hiring American workers first and foremost before you seek out foreign workers for slots, let's say, that may be available. You would like to think that, but as you've come to know over the past few years, Democrats actively hate this country, including the American worker, even though these idiots, and I'm not even talking about the elites because obviously they're going to play their games. I'm talking about the 9 to 5 worker. I'm talking about the person that's underemployed, who will still vote and support companies taking away American jobs, which includes their dumbasses and their future opportunities and the future opportunities of their own kids. But anyway, let's first start with Vivek. Now, Vivek, he made a long little post, and within the post, he made several references in summing up American culture by referencing television shows from the 90s. You know, shows like Boy Meets World, Saved by the Bell, and Family Matters. And again, I've been saying in the past few videos, and specifically on my previous channel that's been deleted, that a lot of people unfortunately loves to relate the things of Hollywood with American culture. And identifying American culture with the entertainment product that Hollywood produces is a very unfortunate thing because what Hollywood represents is a bastardization of the concept of culture, let alone reflecting American culture. In these various Hollywood productions, they like to exaggerate certain things and de-emphasize others in order to construct a narrative. And unfortunately, most Americans, most American-born people have sort of stated that what you see in Hollywood represents American culture. So Vivek, even though it's an ignorant perspective, he's coming from an ignorant perspective that's been championed by Americans that unfortunately relates their culture to Hollywood. And basically, again, he did that to sum up why American workers need to be underemployed or unemployed because they're not truly hard workers. Of course, leaving out the obvious fact that it's not about hard workers, it's about workers that's willing to work exaggerated hours for demoralizing pay. And if you haven't noticed, because they like to argue, well, the prices would be made higher if you employed Americans. But if you haven't noticed, with the open borders policy that we currently have and the current exploitation of H-1B, prices haven't been going down. In fact, they've been steadily increasing, which is why inflation was a conversation during this current Biden administration. So it's utter bullshit that bringing in cheap slave labor and sending those jobs out to other countries for cheap slave labor, it's bullshit that it brings prices down. Because if everything was truly cheap, then they would have an argument. But anyway, that was Vivek, and he hasn't really made too many posts since then. Maybe sort of got a clue to pretty much shut up. Elon, on the other hand, Elon, by the way, he was a part of an advisory council for Trump's first term, and he quit over Trump's decision to pull out of the Paris Climate Accord. And so this guy has already previously, for lack of a better word, betrayed the Trump administration. But again, as he would say, that was back when he was libtarded and he saw the light when he saw the woke mind virus infect one of his offsprings. And even his own father acknowledged the fact that him and his brother were libtarded, what was libtarded up until recently. But the fact of the matter is, with Elon Musk, he only scattered over to this side because Biden didn't welcome him when he was holding some sort of summit for industries involved with electric cars and or electric automobiles, and Elon wasn't invited. And they didn't seek him out. He felt bitter about it, and that's when he decided to wander over here to the other side of things, to the right side of things. And again, it makes sense from Trump's perspective, where he was not getting any major support, that when you have the richest man on the planet willing to give you support, of course you're going to embrace him. But I've always seen Elon Musk as someone, of course, you're welcome to utilize his resources, but he's still a walking red flag, just based on the fact that he had dealings with Amber Heard. But now, over the course of these past few days, showing how, just like every other globalist, he has no care for Americans and their ability to be gainfully employed. I mean, he just goes to show you why, when you see these libtards who all of a sudden become conservatives or Trump supporters, it's why you always have a red flag hovering over their heads. Because for me, it's a trial. It's a trial period of years for you to prove yourself as sincere. Because you can't trust anybody that's been libtarded most of their lives suddenly seeing the light. Because usually it's bullshit. And it takes certain things, certain situations, certain conversations, which is why I love that this conversation happened over H-1B, because it allows people to expose themselves. And not just Johnny come latelys like Elon Musk, but people who have been self-proclaimed conservatives even before Trump ran, and then once Trump ran was a Trump supporter. Even those people get exposed for not truly being serious about a goddamn thing that they claim to support. Because I've often talked about, in a previous channel that I had that's now been deleted. But I've always talked about how conservatives, there's a lot of cucks amongst them, cuckservatives, as I like to say, because they'll have these hard nosed stands on a multitude of political issues. But socio politically, they're still of a libtard mindset. Because what do they do in reaction to NFL players saying essentially F you? You're a Nazi if you're a Trump supporter. NBA players, when they say the same thing. Actors, actresses, directors, producers within the movie industry, TV industry, uh, game designers within the video game industry. When they're all saying these things, what are these people's reactions typically? Is to continue to support and consume the various entities of the mainstream media, aka Hollywood, instead of doing what they should do, which is vote with their wallet and permanently boycott these nincompoop who are going around calling you racist, calling you Nazis, basically saying defamatory and slanderous nonsense, and encouraging an antagonistic population that calls for you to be physically assaulted, like the whole punch a Nazi saying that got stated not too long ago in reaction to Trump voters. But they'll just say punch a Nazi. And obviously, if all Trump supporters are Nazis, then they're fair game to physically assault. And so, unfortunately, there are very few so called conservatives that have ever truly stood up for themselves when it comes to this mainstream media. And so, as much as Elon Musk and Vivek deserve to be lambasted for pushing this nonsense, how many conservatives who are lambasting them still go out and spend their money on Hollywood through movie theaters, through theme parks, subscribe to multiple streaming services, purchase merchandise based off of brands and entertainment products attached to Hollywood, continue to support sports ball and their favorite sports ball team, which they treat like their own personal religion? How many of them continue to support that? Which, quite frankly, has done far more harm than any of the bullshit that Elon Musk has done recently over the past couple of days, and with how he chooses to employ people, because conservatives showing that they won't tell Hollywood to permanently F off has emboldened them over the past few decades to continue to be more and more bold when it comes to their verbal attacks against so-called conservatives. I mean, because we literally could have, you're talking about industries that have died because of them shipping jobs overseas. We could have had the entertainment industry die years ago if every single conservative Republican voter said no. No more money, not one more red cent, based on the slanderous, defamatory nonsense that you've spewed. And so, as much as Elon Musk, who, again, he's less than a year old when it comes to supporting Trump and being Republican, as much as we can call him a phony, there have been lifelong Republicans and conservatives that have been phonies because they've never truly stood up against the people that have insulted them for decades versus Elon Musk's insults over the past few days. And so ultimately, what I'm saying with that is, I'm personally willing, and plus we have no choice, but just internally, I'm willing to wait and see what Trump actually does. And let's say, like, after the first 6 months or year, look back over what he did over those past 6 months and year and see what he has accomplished. Because again, ultimately, Trump has put himself in an uncomfortable situation that he didn't have to. He could have stayed friendly and stayed friends with Hollywood and uh, continue to be a Democrat or a rhino Republican and live the rest of his days with his reputation intact, according to the mainstream, and died a billionaire. But instead, he's been through all this conflict, got shot at multiple times, and even hit once. And so he still has put more skin in the game than any walking, talking Republic cuck, whether it be the ones online or in real life in person. Because how many people have been willing to really sacrifice their comfort like that? I mean, again, you can't get people to even sacrifice their bullshit Hollywood consumption, let alone being willing to sacrifice the comfort of their livelihood and reputation. And so that's why I'm willing to give Trump a break to work with the phony Elon Musk, because there's been millions of Republicans, conservatives, and Trump supporters that have continued to essentially work with Hollywood despite their defamatory ways, based on the fact that they continue to consume them. And even worse, identify themselves by Hollywood product, which is where Vivek got his ignorant references from. But anyway, that's all I have to say about this.